All right, welcome to this Q&A. Again, welcome to this Q&A. Follow-up question. Someone had asked that gets into a bigger, much bigger topic, which a lot of these questions do. And that was all about sorcery, right? The question was, someone, first of all, it's forbidden for Jew or non-Jew to practice sorcery. And again, it doesn't have to be, Kabbalah here. We're talking about basically using where tapping in to things that God does not want you to tap into, even though He allows you to. Right? We've spoken before, as the Ramchal says in Derech Hashem, right? That God created evil, which is a problem for the Christians, because if you look at Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7, right? They changed the meaning of the text, because basically the text over there says, according to a proper translation, that God created evil. Now, it doesn't mean God is evil, but God created evil. He allows people to tap into evil, but He doesn't want them to use them. But again, it's a test. Life is a test. So there are many verses in the Torah that talk about sorcery. That sorcery, Ouija boards, these things are forbidden, certainly for Jews. There's a question whether they're forbidden for non-Jews also, but they should be forbidden anyway. So a person, let's say, uses they use sorcery when they're not allowed to, right? I mean, sorcery is forbidden in general, even to use, let's say, an ineffable name of God to save lives, right? It's also forbidden, right? We see that by that one of the rabbis goes up to heaven before the temple's destroyed, goes in front of the heavenly court, and asks the heavenly court, let me say one ineffable name of God, and that will stop the destruction of the temple. God in the heavenly court says no. Now, even to save lives, not allowed to use the name of God. Sorcery, again, in general, is forbidden. But what's the question? Right? What's the question over here? The question is, if a person wanted to use sorcery, or let's say have power over angels, cause someone damage. Now, that is possible to do. You don't need to be on you don't have to be on a very high spiritual level at all to do that, because to tap into the dark side, as I would call it, you don't need to be on a high level here. Okay. Now, if someone used, let's say, sorcery or whatever, in order they don't like somebody, right? Can't imagine right before Yom Kippur, right? But can't imagine they don't like somebody, or they really don't like someone. They want to cause them damage. So what do they do? They use sorcery to cause them damage, right? Now, obviously, that's forbidden. And the question gets better, and that is, let's say one of them died nearly the exact anniversary, the date when they implemented the portion of their plan. Yeah, is that a sign? Is that a sign? So let's analyze. If a person, let's say, we just came to Rosh Hashanah. So if there's a decree that a person should die, if there's a decree, God forbid, that a person should die, does it matter how the person dies? Meaning, whether they die of a heart attack, they die of a car accident, they die any other way, I don't know. However they're going to die. Now, let's say it happens in such a way that person used sorcery. Hurt the person, potentially even kill them. So answer this part of the question. What if they died the exact anniversary of the date? So that really doesn't matter, right? The date itself, you can say it's 1 year from the time, that is significant in some ways, right? Let's say someone hasn't had kids, they go to a great rabbi for a blessing, and a year later they have a child. Okay, that's significant, right? That's significant. You say the same thing over here, maybe, right? Maybe it's significant because it's a year anniversary for when they did it. If you told me they did it and a week later it happened, 2 days later it happened, I think that's more significant. I would think it's more significant, but okay. But let's say it's a year. Let's say it takes a year. Now, God has many messengers. He's got many messengers. As we say, God's got a lot of messengers. Does it really matter which messenger God uses to take this person out? Medicine, I don't know, car accidents, other things, right? Person caused damage, they're guilty. Okay. But isn't just this the way that God's going to take them? He can take them many different ways. But there's a divine decree, no matter what, for the person to die. There's a divine decree. So now, what if someone used sorcery? Isn't God stronger than sorcery? I would think so. God's more powerful than anything. Nothing has power outside of God. Certainly, as the Ramchal says in Derech Hashem, certainly the Rambam says, the 13 Principles of Faith, God's absolute. He doesn't change. Nothing's outside of him. He created the heaven and the earth. Everything in the heaven, everything in the earth. So he created spiritual forces. Can spiritual forces do what they want? No. They are not independent. If you say they're independent, God's not God, doesn't have power. You can't have somebody who created something and that thing has more power than the person who created it. That makes sense logically. Right? The Chosavav students, Art brings that out. Right? That wouldn't make sense. So even if someone used sorcery and that caused someone to die, not instantaneously, a week later, 2 weeks later, I mean, a year later is kind of, I think it's a long time for that to happen, even as auspicious time, the year from the date they did it. Okay. I mean, there isn't what to be said for that, but okay. What's really going on here? Sorcery has power if God wants it to have power. Someone could tap in and not get their designed result. Why not? They have the power in their hands. So why don't they get the result they want? Because God doesn't allow it. See what's going on here in Israel? Missiles flying all over the place. Some hitting things. Okay. The vast majority get knocked out or hitting open areas. Now, the ones shooting the missiles, they're power. You have missiles of destruction. Now, in general, I would think if you shoot a missile somewhere in a populated area, it should hit something. It should cause a lot of damage. God forbid. Yeah. Or maybe not. But what's the X factor? As we always say, God's the X factor. If he wants it to hit something, cause damage, and people get hurt or die, God forbid, it'll happen. If not, doesn't really matter. A person could use all the sorcery in the world. All that sorcery won't do diddly squat in my language, because God's in charge. So my Rebbe's Rebbe, Moshe Schneider, blessed memory, would say every missile has its address. Right? Every bullet has its address. Says, hey, someone kills somebody, let's say, robs them, kills them. Okay. So that person's guilty, no question. But the person who was killed obviously had to die in that way. Why? Don't know. Or you take, it happened, I don't know, a few months ago. The missile attack up north. And someone was driving on the road. And the missile hit them, hit the car, killed them. That was their time to go. The vast majority of missiles don't hit anything, usually, or get knocked down. Okay. This missile was going to kill them, right? There was a divine decree. The missile came, took them out. Now, you look at the odds. What are the odds getting hit by a missile? Well, it depends where you are. If you're down south, right across the border, you get 15 seconds. Right? Now get into politics. You get 15 seconds. You hear that siren? You get 15 seconds before impact. In other places, you get about a minute and a half. You got about a minute and a half before it hits, if it's going to hit anything. You got a minute and a half. If you tell me you got 15 seconds, and a person's outside, they couldn't get inside, couldn't get to a shelter, this, that. All right, see what happens. But again, doesn't mean they're going to get killed by it. It's only because God wants them to. So here, God makes points. Many years ago, in the 80s, suicide bomber kills 300 Marines. Just so happens, 40 years later, they just killed the person who orchestrated that. Right? A few weeks ago, they killed this person. Okay. One suicide attack, 300 killed. That's significant. And you have murderous sprees, other things, that's significant. Now, chances of happening, again, you can say, well, it's by bad luck. Oh, we don't believe in bad luck. Person's destined to die, they're destined to die. See, we just look at it and say, wow, they died in a horrific way and this and that. We see that. But at the end of the day, it's a divine decree. We don't understand the divine decree. Comes Rosh Hashanah, there's a decree. Right? October 7th came. Right? There was a decree. What they did wasn't good. There's a great Shabbos, that's great the festival, having a Buddha there. True. But that's not why they died. There was already divine decree. Yeah, a lot of the stuff we don't understand. But one thing's for sure. No matter what a person does, if God does not want it to happen, it will not happen. Period. It will not happen. Doesn't matter what the person does. Yeah, doesn't matter what all the incantations and everything else. Irrelevant. There's divine protection. Now you can say, but a person can tap into evil, right? You can actually accomplish what they want to accomplish, right? Unless God stops them. Now there are many times we hear here in Israel that in general they'll say different attacks they stop, but they don't clear it. They don't clear it to publish it to the media till sometime later. Yeah, not when it happens. Because obviously, they don't want to scare the wits out of everybody. Whatever. But unless it's something that's obvious that's that people were there or whatever, saw it or whatever. But there are times you hear, they thwarted this, they thwarted that, but it doesn't make the news. Doesn't make the news. I would say, why, so what happened? So they tried to do whatever. God stopped them. Pretty clear. Thwarted them. They weren't allowed to carry out their plan. But you see, there are times they are. bus bombings, killings, other things. Why doesn't God stop them then? Because these people have a death sentence. That's their time they're supposed to go. And that's how they're supposed to go. Again, the way we look at it, that's horrific. It is horrific. So they say, what's better? Somebody gets Alzheimer's? They don't recognize anybody? Can't take care of their own needs? Watch them deteriorate? That's bad. Someone suffering from, cancer and pain, also can't do much for themselves. And they're suffering. Pick your poison. Problem is, when we see things, and we see that, seemingly innocent lives are taken in a horrific way, it's horrific. You can't judge that. Right? And everyone's going to say, no one deserves that. True. We know what's going on in God's mind. For whatever reason, this is a horrific decree. It was the Holocaust, a horrific decree. Men, women, children, murdered, butchered, gassed, experiments. We don't understand that either. But we look at, there was a divine decree. We don't understand divine decrees. But at the same time, everyone's going to die. The only question is how. So we want people, die at ripe old age. Maybe they die in their sleep. They don't, they don't have to go to a nursing home. There's that. Make it very easy. Well, it doesn't work like that either. So, the question is, how do we view it? So now, does sorcery play a role? Sure. It plays a role. Person be guilty for trying to do it. Okay. But the question is that really the reason the person died? You'll say someone put a hex on somebody, whatever, and this happened, that happened, they died. But were they going to die anyway? They were going to die anyway. So God allowed this mechanism to happen in order for them to die. Right? So the question the person asks is, what does the Torah say something like this happens? They die in line with the dates of their own planning. Well, that's a very interesting coincidence. Obviously, God wanted it to happen that way. And he made it look like that. Okay, but what's the bottom line? What's the bottom line? God took them at that time. Right? We're looking at, this is the reason they died. They died because of this disease. Okay, that's the final thing, let's say. First had cancer, they died of cancer. Okay. What's the real reason they died? That's not the real reason. That's just the cause of death. But what's the real reason? Because God took them. That's the reason. Whatever else happens before that is secondary. You can say, but that was the cause of death. The person didn't eat healthy, and that's what they got, or whatever. We don't know. You're right. To eat more processed things, it's dangerous for the system. It's bad. You don't exercise, other things, good. But what's the real reason? What's the real reason? And the real reason is because God took you. That's it. He just used that mechanism to take the person out of the world. Now, sorcery has power. For sure has power. And a person can do all kinds of things with sorcery. So we said you don't have to be on a very high level. Very good. What's the issue? The issue is that you can tell me a person did that, sorcery killed him. Remember, let's say for argument's sake, that was a direct cause. And we would know for sure sorcery killed the person. Well, is that person guilty? Sure, they're guilty. They're guilty of using sorcery. Are they guilty for murder? We wouldn't say for murder. I might say maybe it's a direct cause. You don't know the person died, right? If you tell them they put a bag over their head, they suffocated them, okay. Right? Can you directly show that that's how they died? I don't know. Maybe you could, maybe you couldn't. But it's secondary cause. Secondary cause means, even if we could prove, I can use other examples, easier examples, right? Where the cause of death is, we'll say cancer. Yeah, that's the cause of death. Right? According to everybody, that's the cause. Very good. Even if that's the cause, why did it happen? Seemingly, they're going to, punishment or whatever. We don't understand these things, how it works, why people get it younger, older, this, that, right? We don't understand. Okay, but that's their time to go. That's just the cause of death. But what's the real reason? God took them. So yeah, doesn't mean they're not guilty. Someone caused someone else's death, they're guilty, depending on the circumstances. 100%. So even if they're guilty, okay, they have to be dealt with in this world. But at the end of the day, the person died, right? Person died. Very good. So even if the person died, the reason they died is because that's the way God took them. And we see a lot of times, young children suffer. We see, horrific things. Horrific things. So the only explanation we can say is that's what the soul, for whatever reason, has to go through. In this body, it has to go through that. Why? It's 120 years, can ask God. He'll tell you. But, we see it. We see people suffering. It's hard. It's very hard. But, the cause of death, whatever it is secondary. That's just how the person died in the body, the body dies. But the real reason, God took them. So again, is it a sign? I wouldn't say it's a sign. I think it doesn't matter. Because guess what? God can make this person immune of that. Story the Gemara says, or Chanina ben Dosa in his generation, there was a snake going around, biting people and killing them. Yeah. So Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa went up to the snake and was like, what are you, crazy? Right? And the snake bit him. The snake died. So what happened? He was immune to the bite of the snake. How was he immune? Other people died. So God protected him. Same, he's on a higher spiritual level. He wasn't supposed to die like that. So God protected him. So other people go through the same thing. Some people go through horrific accidents, walk away from it. Other people killed on the spot. Or they get mangled, rehabilitation for a month, who knows what. Why did it happen that way, not that way? Right? In one case, God had, gave them divine protection. They had divine protection. They came out of it without a scratch. Many cases like this. In other cases, people get in accidents, they die. Or get mangled or whatever. Because they don't have that divine protection. Right? They're supposed to be punished that way. But see what, if it happens by accidents, other things that we see, say it's unfair. Why did the person go through this and the other person go through that? Good, that's an age-old question. Read the book of Job. It's an age-old question. We don't know. One thing my Rabbi would say, why do people die young and old? Because they all died at the same age. No one would repent. So you tell me, okay. A lot of people die very old. They still can take care of their needs and whatever, they die in their sleep. Okay. They live the ripe old age. Good. But when they suffer, because other people around them to suffer, it's hard to see. It's hard to see a loved one, dementia, this. It's hard, right? No question. No question about it. But, whatever reasons, what a person has to go through. So the mechanism, the way a person dies, sometimes more severe, less severe, whatever it may be. Bottom line is divine decree. But when you see horrific things, you ask the question. Yeah, when a father of 4 at 45 drops dead of a heart attack. Say, what's going on? They were 75. Something happened, had a major stroke. Was in a facility and then died. Okay, 75, 80, whatever. People die young, maybe in the prime of their health. Different things. That's when people ask the question. Yeah, it's hard to fathom. But bottom line, however long a person, is in this world, they reach whatever potential they need to reach or whatever. God takes them. See, well, there is one caveat though. God's not going to take someone, if loved ones around them are going to be so broken and not function and this and that, so God can have mercy. Rabbi Piano, blessed memory, would say, the person works with the masses and helps others, even if they deserve to die, God's not going to take them because they have extra protection. So it depends how, depends what, but when we see tragedies, it doesn't make sense. It's hard to make sense of it, but God is God. He's the one in charge. He's the one doing things. The person with the ripe old age, dementia, all that, hard to see. Or if they're suffering, cancer, say, okay, they had a good life. They lived a long life. You don't necessarily look at it that way. Some people do. They say, what a terrible way to go. Anyone, no one's given a choice. No one's given a choice. Would you rather go this way, that way, pick your poison. So we're not in control of that. Who's in control of giving and taking life? God is. He's in control of that. We're not in control of anything. Very little. We think we are, but we're not. So in this case, you can say, wow, it was a year anniversary, right, of them doing this. Very good. It was a year anniversary. Very good. So interesting coincidence. Doesn't mean that's the way they died, though. Now, even if a person did it, right, it's total prohibition, sorcery. Not going to be convicted of it, killing someone necessarily. You can absolutely prove it. And if you could, okay, it's not death penalty. Wouldn't be death penalty. It's forbidden, there's no question. Tapping into that's forbidden. But the fact to cause someone damage, okay, very good. They're guilty. They're 100% guilty. See, this is the question. If they caused the damage, and God used them as a stick, it's not their fault. Of course it's their fault. They have free will. If we said free will is limited, if they had free choice what to do, they chose to do that, they're guilty. But at the same time, the person obviously deserved the punishment. Why? Because God wanted them to be punished. And he used that person to get to them, but that person's guilty. Now, there was a story last year. A person in a protest, one of these protests, a pro-Hamas person knocked someone down, 70-year-old guy down, fell on his head and he died. You're going to say, where's the justice in that? Person went to protest, whatever, counter-protest, whatever it was. But he was destined to die. He had a death sentence on his head. So what did God do? He used his thug, pushed him down, fell on his head, he died. Right? Shortly thereafter, he died. Well, what are people going to ask? Where's the justice? You got these thugs running around. How could that happen? Whatever. Nixon's guilty. Think it's, hey, I just meant to push him down. I didn't mean to have him fall on his head and die. Right? Could use that as an excuse. I don't know what happened if we got prosecuted or not, or whatever the story was. Yeah. Wasn't wasn't murder. Killed the person, okay. But intention to kill them. And you want to say it's homicide? Could be. But that's the way the person was supposed to die. And the other person pushed them down. That's what happened. Pushed them down, that's what happened. No, he's guilty. They certainly sue him. For what he did. They get him for murder. It's not intentional. But don't you know if you push an old person down, they can get hurt? There's a difference between getting hurt and dying. You say, but they're more fragile. Okay. I don't play the statistics, but, push a 75 person who's got balance problems anyway. Push them off the sidewalk. Yeah, not in the traffic. Push them off the sidewalk, they fell. Okay. Maybe they break their arm, break their leg. I don't know. Hurt their back. You say it depends how they fall. Okay. But is that intentional murder? It's not intentional murder. You're not going to get him for murder. For sure not. You get him on probably a civil case. But you won't get him for murder. Go on indirect cause. That'd be I'm not saying the guy should get off the hook. But they're not going to get him for murder. Yeah. And if you push someone off the sidewalk, they broke different limbs. Okay, that's what should happen. Kill somebody? You say it depends how they fall. I know of a story here, crazy case. Somebody, 16-year-old girl, or 15-year-old girl, fell off her bunk bed. Now she's paraplegic. She can't walk. She landed a certain way on her back, on her spine, broke her back or whatever. I don't know exactly the story. But, fell on their spine. And now they can't walk. Now they're in a wheelchair. Now go explain that. Now that's going to be the trial for this person for the rest of their lives. That person asked for it? No. Was that a normal thing? A person's going to fall off a bunk bed, and end up a paraplegic? I don't think so. The odds are like zero. Okay, you fall, maybe, it depends how you fall. Yeah, if you fell straight on your head, and you slipped and, major impact, yeah. Okay. Got major brain problems. Oh, I get it. Even so, the odds fall in such a way that you're going to injure, you're injuring your back or spleen or whatever in that way that hits the nerve and now you can't walk. What are the odds of that? The odds are very slim, extremely slim. Yeah, you have to hit the right spot. You have to hit the right angle. You have to fall. So I don't know, whatever it is, the odds are very slim. So what happened? For whatever reason, God wants this person to be a paraplegic. Right? That's going to be their test for the rest of their lives. They have other tests also, but we can't explain that. Fall at precisely the right angle for that to happen. Such a young person. Changed the whole life overnight. Overnight. So, regardless of why these things happen, God wants it to happen. In that way. But that's not the direct cause. That's just the stick that got to the person, but God's really getting to them because of, whatever reason. Or somebody asks, would Reiki, energy, manipulation be the same thing as sorcery? Probably. I think that is the case, that people shouldn't use them. Someone asks what happens to them after death. I don't know. God judges them. God's going to judge them. A person can say, God, why happened that this way? So God will show them. God will show them what the purpose was. Why they had to do it, why the other person had to be the one to do it. He'll show all that. We don't fathom it. We don't have a clue. Right? Someone said you live as long as your appointed time. Yeah. Sometimes you get extra life for different things, extra years. right? But it is brought down. The person only has a certain amount of words. There are cases of people died mid-sentence. Let's say a person's given, I don't know, it's given 12,250,220 words to speak. No more. The other person might speak a lot, maybe they'll die younger. If not, whatever, however it works. But there are people die mid-sentence. They're about to say, whatever. I've heard of a few cases like this. Person in the middle of saying something, and they keel over and they die. Sudden. Wasn't anything that they brought on. That was it. Their time to go. They spoke. They're granted. I shouldn't laugh. It's not funny, but they granted a certain amount of words, and in the middle of a sentence, they dropped dead. Why they dropped dead? They check the person, whatever, massive heart attack. Okay, so the person died. So what happened? God granted them a certain amount of words. In the middle of the sentence, he stopped them. That's it. Too late. No more words. No more words. So everything's decreed. It could be. There are certain things that can overcome that. You're granted more years. Maybe for certain things that it can be overturned. Right? In general. It may be overturned. It may not be overturned. It depends. Somebody asked, weren't they dancing in front of idols? Yeah, they were. Even if they were, let's say. So I said that. Even if they were dancing in idols, that's not why they died. If comes Rosh Hashanah, there's a divine decree. Once there's a divine decree, either you can overcome the divine decree, right? You have till the end, after Yom Kippur. If the divine decree gets overturned, good. If the divine decree doesn't get overturned, but that was already divine decree. It didn't happen instantaneously. What they did there didn't help. That is no question. What they did there didn't help, but it can't be that's the reason they died. Any of them. You can say, well, that's a direct result. We don't see direct results in this world. There could be 50,000 other reasons and other things that happened. Before that, the God said, okay, I'm going to lead them up. This is what's going to happen. Yeah, but it's not direct. It's a divine decree. Very good. Why the divine decree? Anyone's guess is as good as mine. We don't know, but there was a divine decree for all of them. Ones that got, whatever, still in captivity, the ones that, the ones that came out, alive, and the ones that were killed. They're all divine decree. Why some deserve to die and some not? Anyone's guess as good as mine. Yeah. Somebody asks, some say the Iran tested a nuclear bomb. That I have no idea. I don't know if that's true or not. I think they're close, but I don't know that to be true. I would assume that Israel is going to attack them. We'll see what they do, what they end up doing. Someone says they were living that lifestyle, we're judged for it. Okay, we don't know. I mean, listen, anyone who dies, let's say, a terrorist blows himself up in a restaurant, all those people there, right? Some come out alive, some die, some are, paralyzed for life, other things. So you want to say it's because of that? Divine decree. I would agree. What they didn't help their cause. For sure. Did not help their cause. Yeah. There's a divine decree before that. So there are other things they must have done before that. Because it's not direct, as we said. All right. Someone here says, when Rashi states Zechariah chapter 12, referring to the Messiah, son of Joseph, who was slain. So it's true the Messiah is supposed to die. Difference of opinion. It's the Messiah of Joseph that helps the Messiah of David, the Messiah of Joseph, difference of opinion whether he dies. So is he going to die or not? We don't know. Nobody knows. I mean, he might. Definitely might. But we don't know. We don't know. Someone here asked, I want to get this. Somebody asked before, 1 second, where thought I saw it before. Maybe not. 1 second. No. All right. Let me see. Any other questions here? Thought I did see one before. 1 second. So it says someone as a Noahide has a Torah books and backpack. Allowed to visit a public toilet while wearing a backpack. That would be a problem. That would be a problem. Taking any Torah books into a bathroom would be forbidden. Whether it's a Jew or it's a non-Jew. Even if it's in a backpack. Right? Backpack has to be outside. Right? You can't bring it inside. If, let's say, it would be in English. Right? Let's say it would be in English or any other language. Then there'd be a question, even if it's Torah, whether that would be the case. Because it's not in Hebrew. But if it's of a Torah nature, nothing should be taken in the bathroom, even if it's covered. Even if it would be covered, would be forbidden. Someone asked, was Enoch the first prophet? No. Yeah, Noah was the first prophet, or even before Noah. Right? I think Noah was before. Yeah. So he wasn't. Someone asked why the Levite who tried to stop the ark from falling died, because it wasn't on the level. Some people weren't on the level if they were holding the ark. That's the thing by Korach. He was on the level to hold the ark. He didn't die. Some people who weren't on the level died from it. Yeah. Why specifically? Good question. But again, a person at that level, you're holding something extremely holy. You're not at the level where you need to be. Good. Right? That's a problem. Right? That is a problem. So God took them. Right? It's picking up the ark, even because it was falling down. Good. Right? Seems like the right thing to do. Obviously, God thought otherwise. Right? Something else they should have done instead of that. They say, hi, but it's a disgrace to the ark. Okay. So obviously, God had other plans. And said, they shouldn't have done that. Should have done something else. Somebody asked, can a man see God? You asked me this last week. No. Someone says they heard a rabbi teach that someone be able to see God without any restrictions. I don't know who that is. Moses reached the 48th level of knowledge. The 49 levels. He reached the 48th level. God says, so Moses says, I want to understand your attributes, how you run the world. Right? What does God say? No one can see my face and live. Now let's take that. So then the Torah says you can always see me from the back. Very good. So the Torah says God's person will not be able to see God face to face. Impossible. Yeah. Now you want to tell me, you want to tell me that someone's going to say that you could do that? No idea. Doesn't make any sense. Goes against everything the Torah says. Because no one can see God's essence. That's impossible. That 100% is impossible. And the Torah says, no one can see my face and live. So if the Torah says no one can see my face and live, how can a person see God without restrictions? Moses spoke to God face to face like a person speaks to their friends, right? We don't understand what that communication is. Yeah. Well, that's not seeing God's face, though. That's not seeing his essence. His essence, nobody can see. right? No one can fathom his essence. And Chal says that the close of overs to his heart, he brings that up, right? It's a very basic tenet in Judaism. Yeah, no one's able to see God face to face. Now, how could somebody say that they can see God without restrictions? Very good question. Very good question. The answer is that should not be the case. That's an impossibility. So you have to ask them how that's possible and why that doesn't go against what the Torah says. Clearly, it should go against what the Torah says. Because nobody can see God and live. Meaning nobody is going to be able to see and understand God's essence, period. Somebody asks, what about jewelry with Hebrew engraved on it? Good question. Can that go in the bathroom? Some people would say Hebrew is such a holy language, nothing written in Hebrew doesn't matter. Let's say better, that it doesn't even have God's name on it. Yeah, it'll make it very easy. Some people would say because the holiness of the letter shouldn't bring them into an unclean place. Other people say no, it's only by God's name. It's only by God's name or Torah. What if you have, let's say, I don't know, a person wears a bracelet. It says, Ani v'doidi v'doidi li. The verse, right? I am to my beloved as my beloved is to me. It's a Torah verse. Yeah, God's name's not there, though. So most people would say it's not a problem. Right? If you have, let's say, I don't know, person had money, they were counting money in the bathroom, right? Dollars, says, a God we trust. Yeah. Does God have any holiness? Difference of opinion among rabbinic authorities. Some say it does, some say it doesn't. I know someone had a tattoo, and it said, and on the tattoo it said God. So they want to know about taking it off. So I said, this is above me. Let me go ask. Ask my Rabbi about it. So he said that there's a difference of opinion whether a name of God in any language outside of Hebrew has any holiness. And he said if they're going to take it off, better have to take it off by a non-Jew. Right? Why should a non-Jew take it off? Because there's no wiping away God's name that would be forbidden for a non-Jew. Right? Only for a Jew. So a non-Jew should do it, not a Jew. So wearing Hebrew engraved jewelry, that shouldn't be a problem. If you got God's name on it, that'd be a problem. I know somebody that had, I think they still have it. I don't know if they've taken it off yet. They have a tattoo. And tattoos, if someone wants to convert in general, you don't necessarily have to take them off. I think it's a good thing to do it, but you don't have an obligation to, unless it's idolatry. Right? Unless it's idolatry. But somebody, so I was explaining to this person, so he said, oh, let me just show you. They took a picture, or someone took a picture of this person's back and all these Hebrew letters and different things. And one of the things it said there was Yud Kei Vav Kei, God's name. God's name as a tattoo on his back. That is a problem. That's a serious problem. So if he does, how can he walk in a bathroom? He can never walk in a bathroom, according to this. Yeah, because he got God's name written on his back. So if you tell me he's covered up, his back is covered, yeah, less of an issue. Less of an issue. Yeah. How's the person take a shower? That's a problem. Right? Takes off his shirt and he's uncovered, that's a problem. That's a problem. So that would have to be taken off by a non-Jew. Right? And there are people who do that. I mean, someone told me it's very common. You go to tattoo parlors, I don't know, I think it's a good luck charm or whatever. They inscribe God's name on, I don't know, on the leg, on their arm, on their cheek, I don't know, whatever they do, whoever it is. That's a serious problem. Even though you say, well, a non-Jew's writing it, whatever, so shouldn't have the level of holiness. It doesn't matter. It's God's name. You can't have God's name on a person's body. I mean, there's a mosaic, Columbia University, my alma mater. Yeah. They have a mosaic that is Yud Kei Vav Kei on it. That's also a huge problem because you can't walk on it. It's a disgrace to walk on it. So if it's God's name, yeah, it's a big problem. Going to the bathroom. If it's just Hebrew letters or whatever, even if it's verses of Torah, I don't think that matters. I don't think if you didn't have God's name on it, if you didn't have God, if it was engraved with, in Hebrew, so it depends what it is. I would say if it's a verse in Torah, yeah, I wouldn't bring it in the bathroom. Certainly if it has God's name, I wouldn't bring it in the bathroom. One of the 13 principles is God cannot appear in visible form, right? Right. Also, that would answer the question also. About seeing God without any restrictions, right? All right, I gotta run. I gotta stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Marchaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on the Torah portion of the week, even though very behind, Q&As, Ethics for Our Fathers, Book of Leviticus. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com, which have a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day, and everyone have